So I have a confession to make. I remember when I was doing this today actually at work. I was like on a ladder, whatnot, doing some wiring, and the theme from Cranky Kong, where the chimps start like actually going. I started doing that out loud.
People working
Dan's
in here are
monkey
like,
brain.
what is this guy from? Dan's gone ape.
Well, this noise is going around, so they can't hear me. But
Dan's monkey brain.
yeah.
Welcome to the Cable Club. We're a retro video gaming podcast where three guys have a bananas party with Diddy, and we're linking up to talk about the games you love and rank them. We're your hosts. I'm Steve.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Donnie Kong, Don.
Ooh.
And this is episode number 27. This week's episode is the first League episode, and the entry is Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest, presented by me. So get ready to upload data from us to you. But first, boys, we're back to setting the mood.
All right. Let's hear it.
I always have to
Alright.
get in the mood for Diddy.
That just sounds so wonderful. I'm happy for you.
I'll bring the bananas.
I swear this is not an SEO stunt. But if it gets us views and attention, I'm all there for it.
All right, it's 1995, and summer vacation has just started. You and your little brother have been spending most of your time exploring outside, in the woods and fields and the lakes around your house. Every day felt like a new adventure, looking at all the bugs, birds, and any other wildlife you could find. Playing pirates and war or explorers. Your imaginations were wild and rampant, as children's usually are. Every night you would come home for dinner and wash up. Even though you had a lot of fun adventures with your little brother, this was the time you cherished even more so than the adventures outside. Nighttime was when you guys got to play video games together. This summer was going to be even more adventurous than you initially thought. Your parents had brought home a new game, one that they knew you'd both enjoy. After playing so much Donkey Kong Country, they knew that this would be a smash hit. They handed you and your brother a copy of Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest, the sequel. You and your brother could hardly wait to pop it in the Super Nintendo. All of the new songs and sounds and all the sights, all of the adventure overwhelmed you both. That feeling of magic and adventure was abundantly thrust upon your young minds, and all of your imagination started to fire on all cylinders. What a great summer to share with one of your most important people in your whole life. The magic of being a kid and the magic of imagination.
Awesome. I remember playing Donkey Kong Country 1 with my sister. Such a good time. It's a shame I didn't have anyone to play with this time around.
I would come home at night and play Sega. I'm a SNES convert. I didn't play any of these games until I was an adult.
Yeah.
So I had a Sega Genesis as a kid too, but not a Super Nintendo until about middle to high school. But I remember one week I traded my Sega Genesis for my neighbor's Super Nintendo for like the week or whatever, so we could play each other's games at home. And he had the Donkey Kong games, so that was kind of my introduction to them.
You never gave him a Super Nintendo back, did you?
No, I did. I liked my Sega too.
This is really though one of those games that I feel like makes you, if you were a Sega fan back in the day, you really kind of have to give it to the Super Nintendo a little bit with games like this one.
Yeah, for sure.
There's just nothing of the same scope on the Genesis. So
Yeah, I mean, my brother and I played a bunch of Sonic together, but we didn't really play Donkey Kong when I borrowed the Super Nintendo that one time. I don't know if he's played them or not, but I mean, we got plenty. We would go to the rental store, and we'd have to look at the back of the box to see if it was 2-player or not, so that we could rent it because my mom didn't want us fighting over the TV. So
That's smart.
Get a 2-player game. My parents wouldn't know a 2-player game if it bit them. Back in the day. But anyway, more about that later. I've got some announcements for you fellas, or for you listeners. So we're starting the Cable Club League, as Steve mentioned at the top of the episode. This is year 2. If you didn't catch last episode, go check that out, either on a podcast listening platform or on YouTube, because there's a lot of visual elements with that one. That was a big fat anniversary celebration for us. We are 1 year in, boys.
Woo!
1 year.
365, baby.
So with year 2, we're looking to carve out a niche for ourselves. We're going to do this Cable Club League. So all year, we're going to be taking submissions of games from guests, ideally, that they'll come on the show. They'll talk to us about their favorite game, tell us what it is, tell us why it's the best game ever. And then, throughout the year, we will judge them and sort them into cups. And we'll give awards at the end of the year, too. We'll have little prizes and stuff to give out. It's going to be a really great time. You guys are going to see a lot of new faces and some familiar ones, too. Also, keep a lookout. We are going to be opening up a website soon. So the website is going to be a great place to find all things Cable Club. You're going to be able to find our episodes there. You're going to be able to find transcripts there if you're really interested in that. We might stick up some raw footage there of us screwing around before the episodes. There's also going to be a list of guests with descriptions there. Just lots of neat stuff with that website. And of course, it's going to be a place for us to grow into. And then finally, hand in hand with the league information, if you listening want to participate in the league, we are still filling spots. So either join the Discord and come talk to us there, or email us at thecableclubpodcast.com, or you can find us on Facebook. The bar to be a guest on the Cable Club, I'd say, is pretty low, wouldn't you, fellas?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for now.
I don't know. We're not half full, but we got some people on here.
Oh,
Don't
it's
sell yourself
definitely
too short.
far from a ghost town, but we do have spots to fill. You know, if you're listening to one of these really big retro gaming podcasts that's been on for years and years and years, and they've covered basically every game, but they didn't cover your game, and you really want them to cover your game, but you got to wait through some kind of big random list, or if they ever feel like it or don't feel like it, and you just want to hear a podcast episode about the game that you love, here's your chance.
Come on in.
Yeah, come on over here. Get in the league. The water's warm, and your game is not going to have to be the best game we play all year to win prizes. That's why we're not sorting them into a traditional tier list and a ranking. We're sorting them into cups. So, good chance of getting plugged and winning.
We're looking at a specific podcast here, not covering Paper Mario.
Maybe I am. Maybe this is me living out my issues with that. So.
Show us where the bad podcast touched you.
I can't wait to talk about why TTYD is worse than the first Paper Mario. But anywho.
I'm looking forward to it.
Dan, before I get too frothy, get us into question of the week. Get me out of here.
Oh, boy. Question of the week. Okay, so this one comes from Danko Misty. What is a good horror game for someone who doesn't like jump scares? Game can have one or two, but mostly looking for games built around other horror mechanics rather than strictly jump scares. That's a good question.
Is it a horror game if it doesn't scare you? Like, what is it like? Like, I don't think Castlevania's ever been or ever meant to be scary, but it is.
It's in the horror genre.
Yeah, it's hard. But,
okay.
But
like Frankenstein, Medusa, Dracula. Like, it's in the horror genre.
Yeah.
But it's an NES game. It was really hard to scare you, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it was meant to. I mean, you fight these things and you like beat them up. Or, I'm thinking of like Haunted House for the NES where you like punch the snakes and the spiders and stuff,
Are we gonna throw Splatterhouse on this question of the week?
I mean, there is a couple games that I would consider that we've covered, like Parasite Eve, for example. I mean, it's not like scary. It doesn't have jump scares, but like, it does have a little bit of a horror element to it.
I think it has a lot of bit of a horror element. Like, I think the creature designs are terrifying. It's just, the time it was made holds it back, and the structure of the game holds it back.
Yeah.
That's fair. So I was thinking of a game that's not necessarily in the horror like genre, but Bloodborne has a lot of good horror tropes, and there are some jump scares, but mainly because like enemies will jump out.
From a
But
corner or
like,
something.
yeah, but it's not like one of those like build up to a jump scare type scenes where in the movies where like the music gets a certain kind of way and the camera gets really close up, and it's not like that kind of jump scare. It's more like an enemy jumps out at you, and sometimes it
Yeah.
will catch you off guard, but I don't think it necessarily would fall into like the real jump scare type like horror
Right.
trope.
Yeah, I was considering like picking the first Resident Evil, but like it had like the dogs that would like jump through the windows and stuff, so I was like, yeah, that's a big jump scare. So
If it's anything like the second one, the jump scares carry it in
yeah.
terms of it being a horror game. Like there's so many jump scares in the second one, it's ridiculous.
How about Resident Evil 4?
Yeah, I
I
was
feel
thinking
like
that one too.
there's not a lot of jump scares in that one.
I don't really think I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't really think there is any.
Like the
You just
biggest
get
ones.
scared of like the chainsaw guy because you hear him coming and you know he can one hit KO.
Yeah.
you. You're like, no.
The Ganados are scared of Leon. Let's be serious. Like, dude's
should
a
be.
beast.
I don't know. I mean, any of the older games that like fill in that horror trope too, like I said earlier, like Splatterhouse is like horror, but it's it's still kind of like it's hard to be scared from a 16-bit console. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, especially 2D too. I feel like it, makes it a little harder to be scary.
Oh, you know what else? What I was thinking about, Don. You remember that game that we downloaded on your Xbox Live? It was called Limbo.
Oh, the one where it's like you're like a silhouette. It's like
Yeah.
black and white.
Yeah.
It's like that big. Yeah, there's some interesting horror elements there. There's also Little Nightmares. It's kind of in the
There's
same
a lot of
vein.
jumps in that, like things pop out at you and start chasing you. And I have played some Little Nightmares, but it is fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of a different approach, I think, to that horror type of a game. Yeah, no, for me, I think it's got to be, I'd say Castlevania's got to be the definitive game that comes to mind. That's, I guess technically horror themed, but I like to be able to fight in video games. Like a lot of the modern horror, understandably so. You have to run from things.
Yeah.
Like you can't fight it, which is, it makes sense. If you're trying to scare people, like that's kind of the way you do it.
Yeah, that makes me think of The Evil Within. I played the first one and I beat it, but I haven't played the second one. But like right near the beginning of the game, you are in this area where this like big giant butcher is like hacking things up, and like you cannot fight him. If he catches you, you die, and you have to start over. You have to sneak around and throw bottles to distract him and stuff. It's a pretty intense game, but I thinking of not being able to fight made me think of that.
Yeah.
Like Alien Isolation type of stuff.
Oh my god, yeah. So I had a pretty hard time with this question, trying to avoid like jump scares. So I'm gonna pick up
mine, Parasite Eve. I was probably gonna say that, but
Oh really? I mean, I was thinking of Parasite Eve, but like I didn't want to pick it because we covered it. But a game that I'm gonna pick is kind of out there. It's Kingsfield 2, and it's basically a first person like hack and slash RPG. And basically the whole game, it's like very dark. Like the setting is dark, so like if you actually look up at the sky, it's just red throughout the whole game until you actually beat the final boss. And there's just like a lot of dungeons that are dark with like bunch of traps that can like one shot your character. And I remember like my dad bought this game and I was terrified of it. I wanted nothing to do with this game.
It's like Mega Man Legends. You were telling us about that.
Yeah, but no, this was on a whole different level. I was like, no way, dude.
This is too intense.
Yeah, but like, the graphics have not aged well at all because it's definitely a pixelated mess. But yeah, I just remember I was terrified of that game.
Does Mortal Kombat count as horror? There's plenty of pretty gruesome things in it.
I guess so, but that game's horrifying in its own right and how bad it is. At least
Oh, come on, it's not that bad.
It's very bad. It's apricorn tier garbage. So those are our answers. How about yours? So Danko Misty herself says that she does not enjoy jump scares. She's picky about her horror games, but her choice is Dead Space. That makes no sense to me, Misty. Like, I'm such a wimp when it comes to horror games. I will never play Dead Space unless we're doing this in whatever it is, 5 or 6 years, and it's forced upon me. Like, it's not happening.
Maybe that would be a fun game for us to play and stream like we did with Silent Hill 2.
Probably.
Yeah, because
Like,
I
haven't
don't
even
playing
played
it
it.
otherwise. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, not
Like,
happening.
I actually play a lot of scary games, and that one's kind of like iffy for me too. So
Chef Doug says Amnesia, but it has jump scares. But he feels like the ambiance and the hallucinations are the scariest parts.
yeah,
I'm trying
that
to think of
game.
which game Amnesia is.
That game is damn scary. That one's also a first person, and that game is just like very dark, like extremely dark. Your character, if you're like in a dark area, he like starts like hallucinating, and the screen starts getting all wavy, like he's about to pass out, and his heart rate starts like getting crazy. So like you actually have to like avoid being in super dark areas, or your guy will actually pass out. So yeah, I think it's like trying to emulate like how a normal person would be trying to go through like this like dungeon that they're stuck in. But like I've actually beat this game. It's not very long. I think I beat it in like 8 hours, first playthrough. And I remember like, my heart pumping at a few parts in that game. So it's a good
In
pick.
this game, is like the first area you go to like a abandoned house?
So I think it all happens like in one big like castle or mansion or something. It's been a long time since I beat it, but yeah, I don't think it's in a house.
Hmm.
It's just
I
like
feel
this.
like I've played something called this or something similar to this, but
Yeah, maybe.
Lobaka says Sunless Sea, which is a 2015 game released for the PC, and it's got themes of obviously horror, but loneliness. As you kind of patrol the sea and look around, it's top down, so you're looking at a boat and it's above water and things move under the water. I'm going to be honest with you. In general, as a person, I do not like the ocean. I don't like. So I'm fine on a beach. I don't like the idea of being on a boat and being surrounded by nothing. That terrifies me. I don't like that at all. I have the same problem with deserts. I think it's just my problem is like reverse claustrophobia, where like I'm afraid of big open spaces.
Yeah.
Like with nothing. So the idea of being stranded.
You don't know which direction to go in if you were ever lost. You could be going in a direction that's just further like gonna get you more lost. So
you
yeah,
gotta
that could be
follow the sun.
that could be terrifying.
And then the last answer we had was 7 Days to Die, submitted by Happy.
Oh, that's a
Is
good game.
that the one where you have like a certain amount of time to kill yourself?
Not kill yourself. So basically, as the title implies, it's like a crafting sim game with like zombies with it. You basically, you build a base and whatnot, or you could build a house. You can build whatever you want, really. And zombies are like littered throughout the map or whatever. And all maps are randomly generated when you start a game, so no map is the same. And every 7 days, you get a horde of zombies that will go to your exact location. So basically, you have to fend off this horde of zombies every 7 days, and they progressively get harder and harder. Yeah, say like day 21 or something, that's the third horde. That one is way harder than like the day 7 one. So,
Oh,
and
so like every 7 days, there's just this like ridiculous horde.
yeah,
You have to be able to
and they
you have to-
survive it.
progressively get harder.
Interesting.
Right, and
It's a fun game.
If I remember, you have to like go to town and fight off zombies to get supplies and all kinds of stuff. It
Yeah.
was pretty fun. The bit that I played.
Cool,
How many
cool.
people can you play on a map, Dan?
I don't think there's a limit, honestly. At least like from what I remember. Like I think you can just have as many people as you want.
That's pretty cool.
Well, thank you so much for writing those in, guys. Good stuff. And if you want to get your questions answered, write us in at thecableclubpodcast@gmail.com or join the Discord and type in the question of the week thread. We are definitely like it when there's more than one question of the week. We're more than happy to answer more than one. So just
Heck yeah.
fire it off. and we'd prefer it to be video game related, but it doesn't have to be. We'll answer almost anything.
Almost.
I have to add that disclaimer. But are you guys ready to party with Diddy?
Let's do it. I got the bananas.
So, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest, is a Super Nintendo game that was released in 1995. It's a 2D platformer developed by Rare and published by Nintendo. And it came out in Japan the 4th of December, and in North America the 14th of December. So this game is a direct sequel to Donkey Kong Country. And at the end of that game, Donkey Kong gets kidnapped by King K. Rool. And now,
Total
Diddy
noob.
Kong. Yeah, that would never happen now. And Diddy Kong and his girlfriend Dixie Kong now have to chase around K. Rool in the, Crocodile Isle, which is the new location for this game. It's not in Donkey Kong Isle.
Does this pick up right where it left off? Because I noticed that you start on a boat.
I
Do you,
think-
like
Yes.
take the boat that they used to invade the island to go back over there?
So
Yep.
my question is, did Diddy Kong have this girlfriend prior, or he must have?
Yeah, I guess so.
Like,
I don't really know, but
because there's no mention of her in the first game at all. Like,
I bought it. I just figured she was around. She just didn't come up. You know,
you can only have 2-player, not 3-player.
that's just Donkey Kong 64, but everybody hates that about that game.
So this game, yeah, it takes place directly after your on Gangplank Galleon, where you fight King K. Rool. And in this game, you have Diddy and Dixie, and so they replaced Donkey Kong with Dixie Kong. Obviously, she holds barrels above her head like Donkey Kong did. So she kind of fills that role of being able to defend yourself from above with the barrels. And she also has a gliding mechanic that separates her from Diddy Kong.
I like that.
So the two characters do have differences in controllability, which is kind of a good way to differentiate your characters. I know like Mario and Luigi are kind of the same, you know what I mean? Until Mario 2 and then later games.
Yeah.
So
Diddy's like faster and jumps higher, I believe, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, a little
I-
higher.
I think Dixie's a strict upgrade.
No,
No.
I think Diddy's faster. I'm pretty sure.
Diddy is faster. He
Oh, really?
jumps
I
higher and
really
he
didn't
climbs
notice.
faster on ropes.
Interesting.
Also, he holds cannonballs in front of him, or barrels in front of him.
Yeah, I found that to be a relatively minor difference. All said, because like the hitbox is weird.
But if you're playing quick, it's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've also noticed with Dixie Kong, her running animation is like lower to the ground, and she can actually run under certain enemies that Diddy Kong otherwise couldn't. I think I ran into that in like one of the last levels of the game.
I didn't notice that.
I can't remember the exact level, but like there's like bees like in like certain areas. I'm like, I don't know how to get through this as Diddy. And I remember like Dixie Kong could just straight up just like run right under them.
Oh, I wanted to point out also that Donkey Kong Country 2 is the 6th best-selling game on the Super Nintendo.
That's wild.
Sixth?
That's wild,
Sixth.
isn't it?
What are the other 5?
So, in order, it's Super Mario World, then Super Mario All-Stars,
Okay.
then Donkey Kong Country, then Super Mario Kart, and then Street Fighter 2, The World Warrior,
Okay.
and then in 6th place, Donkey Kong Country 2.
That's crazy.
I think what shocks me more about that list is that Donkey Kong Country 1 is number 3.
Well, it's the beginning of
Yeah.
a series, right? So, like,
Still.
a ton of them were purchased.
Yeah. Wow.
But where's Legend of Zelda? Where's Super Metroid? Like, it's crazy.
So, Link to the Past is number 7,
Wow.
Wow.
Right there.
and Super Metroid.
29.
Yeah, I don't
know.
see it. Up 34. Not a lot of units sold.
Ooh, wow. Man, do they treat Donkey Kong like garbage?
Yeah, especially with those sales numbers, it's like, what the hell, man?
They like just canceled the game, an upcoming Donkey Kong game too.
Donkey
It's
Kong
terrible.
Country 3 is number 11.
Wow,
Rare
that's
kind of
come on.
helped carry the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, significantly. Boo. All right, so Donkey Kong Country 2 is a platformer. There are a
Yep.
lot of different genres of games, you know, and I would argue that, you know, it's hard to make a case for a platformer as far as like a league winner. So what are you thinking with this pick?
All right, so as far as 2D platformers go, yeah, it's all about jumping and landing on platforms. However, this game has a very, I can't say very unique because it has two other games that do this, but it has the best form of two-player co-op.
You
Yeah.
can I didn't even realize you could play two player co-op on this
Yeah,
game.
you
Yep.
you both have a Kong, and if one person gets hit, instead of switching Kongs, it switches Kongs, but it also switches players.
Yep. Yeah, it's great. I remember playing the first one with my sister. We had a great
Oh,
time.
so it's like one player, but whenever you switch Kongs, it goes over to the other player.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yep.
that is interesting. It's actually really cool. I wish
it-
we had done that.
It's
Yeah.
very ahead of its time. Like, the only other two-player kinds of games that you could have at the same time were things like beat 'em ups.
Sonic.
Yeah,
Zombie
but
ate my
Tails is
neighbors.
crappy because the camera focuses only on Sonic, and if you're faster than your brother, he doesn't get to play until Robotnik shows up.
Go get him.
You know what I mean? So
No,
I
no,
think that this game
absolutely.
did that like beautifully. The level design is like top notch. Like if I could put this into words, I would. But I'm just going to come out and say that I think level design wise, it is on par with Super Mario World, maybe even slightly stronger because things feel a lot more dangerous and a lot more rewarding.
I'm gonna stop you right there. I 100% agree. I like this game has some juicy platforming and very early on. And what I mean by that is like you're not just platforming jumping on safe ground. You like very quickly learn that you have to jump across enemies to get things done. Like and
Yeah.
sometimes the enemies are moving and you know sometimes you have to glide or you know you can use like the animal companions to do different weird stuff like the you know I don't want to dive too much into the animal companions right now, but like the spider comes to mind of like making your own platforms and jumping
Squitter,
and
I
just
think
like
his
the
name is.
micromanaging things. Like it's so yeah, no, I would absolutely agree with you that I think the platforming in this game is better designed than Mario.
And not even just that, because you're asking me to build a case here. The music is better than Super Mario.
Now what I
The
expected,
visuals are better than Super Mario World.
yeah,
This game is an incredible platformer. If you're going to put Super Mario World up there, this game is probably even better in my opinion
Yeah, I
in
could see.
most ways.
I liked the progression. Like you know, I thought it was handled pretty well. I didn't think it was that cryptic, especially for how old of a game it is. But like I liked how you know the level told you at the end whether you did everything you were supposed to do or not, and I liked how there was kind of a logic built around secrets, right? Like if you saw like one stray banana floating near a wall or something, like you knew that there was something up,
Yeah.
you know. And the game kind of builds that logic, I'd say fairly well.
No, it
Like
does too, especially with the level with the barrels where you're just shooting like from barrel to barrel, and with the like the vines and whatnot. Usually, when you saw bananas, that led you to the like where you were supposed to go, which I thought was pretty neat. So they did a good job because if they didn't do that, you could just be shooting around and you're like, I have no idea where to go. Luckily, they did that, so it made it that much better. And I want to say, going through this game for the first time, I was surprised at like how different like every level was, like mechanic wise. Either you had like an animal level where you could be an animal, or that level where like the wind's blowing up at you and you gotta like go up. And I was just like, wow, there's just so many different mechanics in this game. Every level just felt like you were playing a different game.
this is a gimmicky platformer, like, but the gimmicks are done so well. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with gimmicks and platforms. Some people do, but like I think a platformer is made spicier when it has gimmicks, and this game really delivered on the gimmick factor all the way through. Like it all felt good too. Like it wasn't like oh crap, like I really don't want to do this type of gimmick. Like Even the water levels feel great.
Yeah, like a lot of platformers, like you go through like what the first 5 levels, you've pretty much seen everything you were going to see. But this game, they throw something different at you all the way up until the end of the game, which is pretty amazing.
I'm thinking of like specifically at the end that level called Castle Crush, where like
Oh yeah, the
the
scroller.
floor's coming
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
and you have to move around stuff, and like you can accelerate past the floor with the bird, and you're rewarded for doing that once you get to the spider, and you can like get a secret because of that, and like I don't know, it's so interesting how this game rewards you for skill and just keeps throwing like new stuff at you.
yeah. Or that race with that bird. If you guys know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, yeah.
That's probably one of the hardest. I think that's the hardest pre-end game content in the game. Like that race is pretty tough.
It is tough. I died so many times on that because it's like you got to be precise. Like, because if you're being too careful, the thing's gonna blow right past you. So like you have to be like careful and like kind of precise at the same time.
And relative to Super Mario World, this is a hard game.
Yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
not like Super Ghouls and Ghosts hard, but it is. I'd say Diddy's Conquest is a pretty hard game. Would you agree, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm a platformer guy through and through. I've played pretty much all of them that are notable, and this one, I actually think it's slightly easier than Donkey Kong Country, personally. But that's because I think that Dixie Kong is like insanely good. But it is difficult. If I was to put like Super Ghosts and Ghouls, which I have beaten at a 10, this is probably like a 7 or maybe a 6.5. Like it's fairly tough.
It was like an 8 for me, maybe 9.
I died a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, same.
Like there was a point at like the middle of the game. There's this carnival stage, and in one stage it's like the something marsh, I think.
Oh yeah, that level is like the ramp in difficulty.
Holy cow! Yeah, it's
Creme
like a
Quay or
wall.
something.
Because like you go to Clubba's kiosk right before that, and you do a secret level, and the secret level is not that hard, and you're like, oh well, the secret levels I think in this game are supposed to be the hardest, and then you go to that, and it's like, oh my god, and like that ended my run. So that was my first game over, and then subsequent to that, I had to like save, beat a few levels, save, beat a few levels, save, beat a few, like I started to inch my way along until I started to recover my lives.
Yeah.
Like later, it
Yeah.
really takes you to task mid
Yeah,
game.
what the heck was up with that? With like the saving? Like the first save and every world was free, but then you had to like pay after that?
Oh yeah,
What
this is not the first time I'm going to bring this up. When we get to our review, I have my complaints.
Well, like I know it's obnoxious and it is stupid, but the banana coins are just so plentiful. It doesn't really matter.
I didn't spend them on anything really.
Yeah, me neither.
Like the
Except for
hints.
saves.
Like yeah, like the hints. I'm like, I'm not spending 3 coins for a hint. Come on now.
That's what
I have,
Google's
I
for,
have, I
scrub.
have the internet.
So this game also it brings back some familiar faces and introduces some new faces. So they're not really important to the story, but it's kind of just like a little break. You have like Swanky Kong who does the game show, Funky Kong's Flights Again, Cranky Kong at the museum, and then whatever her name is at the college. But one of the cool things is that there's mini games
Is
like
it
littered
Wrinkly
throughout this
Kong?
game. It might be Wrinkly Kong.
It's
I
not
think
that
it
does.
is.
It sounds familiar.
I think it is, I'm only thinking that because I played Donkey Kong 64 so much, and she's dead.
Oh,
She's the ghost.
spoilers.
Yeah, this game has a bunch of mini games in it. Every level has like 2 mini games, and then every level that has an animal companion has like 3 mini games in it. And there's also the game show. So I mean, there's plenty of stuff to break up the regular platforming too.
There is a lot of crap to do in this game,
There is. Yep.
just like in general, and they really beefed out the character roster.
2 secret bosses eat your heart out, Super Mario World.
What's the second secret boss?
Don't you get to fight Klubba? You don't have to fight him. He's
No.
optional.
You can't fight Clubba. If you fight him, he
Oh,
bats
I'm
you away.
mistaken. He's the Creme Quay boss. I was thinking is Clubba for some reason because he's the same sprite. My
Yeah,
mistake. There's one secret boss.
He's not secret though. Yeah, the secret boss was actually really surprising because I didn't know he was there. I didn't know enough about this game to do it. I thought there was going to be enough. Like I wasn't mathing in my head, and I thought there was going to be enough coins to get all 40 and get 102%. And then that little like crocodile skull thing opens up, and there's a boss in there. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Excuse me."
I didn't fight that boss.
He's really like half a boss. He's definitely not a full boss. You like dodge a kind of a semi cheap sequence, and then you take him out. But that's okay. I don't think it really detracts. So
Just extra stuff.
yeah, it's nice. It's nice that you get it at all. So especially back in 1994.
Absolutely.
Why Donkey Kong Country 2 and not the other Donkey Kong? Like entries?
Like Donkey Kong Country 1?
Yeah, like 1 or even 3.
Well, I have a confession to make. I have not played Donkey Kong Country 3. Not through lack of trying, but it just every time I pick it up, I'm not really interested. So I haven't beaten that one. And Donkey Kong Country 1 is a great game, but I feel like Donkey Kong Country 2 is not only better in one way, but in almost every way. I think it is, in my opinion, a strict upgrade. So the level designs are better, the enemy designs are better, because in the first game, your enemies don't really move. And there's so many barrel sequences in the first game, and I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah.
In number 2, they limited that. They enhanced the animal companions roles in the game. You have two better Kongs. You have Diddy, which is my favorite in the first game, and then you have Dixie in this one, which is better than Diddy, in my opinion. And then on top of that, I just feel like the pacing is slightly better, and the music is close, but I like Donkey Kong Country 2's score a little bit better.
So
Not taken away from Mark Wise, he did awesome in both games, but I like the second one.
Mr. David Wise.
I'm sorry, David Wise. I could not pick the first game over this one.
So I'm drawing a blank. It's been so long since I've played the first one. What was Donkey Kong's actual strengths when you had
He had a special ground pound move, and I feel like he jumped even higher.
Maybe.
They didn't do a lot to differentiate him, in my opinion. I played that one somewhat recently, and he's like vanilla, and Diddy's like chocolate. You know,
because I'm trying to think of like what you lost by losing him and then having Dixie Kong.
I feel like Dixie's an upgrade.
I feel like they probably should have just called the series Diddy Kong instead of Donkey Kong. Like I feel like it should have been Diddy Kong
Diddy's
Country.
not in the third one.
Yeah, but he's in 2 games, which is more than Donkey Kong is in.
But not more than Dixie.
True.
Also, Dixie is a smaller sprite, which means you can dodge enemies easier.
Yeah.
I didn't really notice. I thought they were kind of both about the same. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Donkey Kong, unfortunately, is pretty bad in the first game. Like he's slower. Like you just don't want to play as him. Like whenever you have Diddy, you're like, yeah, no, I'd rather do that. So
it's kind of raising my eyebrows that like this whole series is called Donkey Kong Country, and yet he's like not even in 2 games.
Oh, well, if I can make a confession, that actually was the reason I never played this game, because I was like, well, I don't really want to play this game because I like the Donkey Kong character, but he's not in it. So I'm just
So pleasantly surprised.
No, this was way more than what I expected. How about the Easter eggs, guys? Did you notice the Easter eggs like littered throughout this game?
I noticed the ones at the end when you beat the game with like Link and Mario and Yoshi. I thought that was really cool.
And Sonic's shoes in the trash can that's labeled no hopers.
I didn't set out to like look at all that stuff. I just played the game this week. But I didn't know how many Easter eggs there were. How many did you find?
Well, so they also mentioned Killer Instinct like twice, which was another rare game. Yeah. Like Cranky Kong has one for sale in the museum for $2, which today I would totally buy. Um, and then he has 2 different lines of dialogue mentioning Killer Instinct, which I thought was pretty neat. And then obviously Yoshi and Mario are on the pedestal when you're there, which I thought was cool because you're meant to like beat Mario. That's like Rare being like, oh yeah, this is Mario can't touch this. Like,
I'm sorry, Mario would have a pretty tough time in the Donkey Kong world.
just like that, the 90s was the Attitude Era, and like we had some attitude there for sure.
Not as thick as Sonic, but some attitude for sure.
I want to talk a little bit about the music. Which track is your guys' favorite?
Oh, geez.
I mean, you don't have to name it. Like I'm not that big of a nerd. I don't know the actual names. I should, but I don't. Mine is from the Lava World. Like the first 2 levels or so have that same song. It's really good.
Yeah, I kind of like the one from like the barrel levels actually with the ivy. It's like nice and tranquil.
That's like everybody's favorite, Sticker Brush Symphony.
Yeah.
I like Sticker Brush Symphony, but I also like I don't know the name of it, but in the mines, it has like that metal clanking in the background, and it's just so atmospheric and good.
This game makes like insane use of the SNES sound chip. Like it makes every sound that I'm pretty sure it's capable of making in this soundtrack. Like all of them.
So I have a confession to make. I remember when I was doing this today actually at work. I was like on a ladder, whatnot, doing some wiring, and the theme from Cranky Kong, where the chimps start like actually going. I started doing that out loud.
People working here like, what is this guy from? Dan's gone ape.
Well, there's noises going around, so they can't hear me. But
Dan's monkey brain.
Yeah.
All right, well, we found our cold open for this episode, Dan.
That's good.
Oh man.
I also really like the music for the woods in I think it's World 5. Man, there's so many good songs. It's hard to pick one.
Yeah.
No, it really is such an insane soundtrack for what it is. And I don't know that I didn't play Donkey Kong 3, but I played the first one, and obviously I played Donkey Kong 64. I've played the Donkey Kong Country Returns. I do not feel like the identity of the series maintained this stellar soundtrack. Maybe Donkey Kong Country 3 did, but I don't feel like games after that did. I don't know.
Yeah,
if you feel the same.
I would say like they tried really hard in DK64, but I just didn't jive with the music as well as the 2 Super Nintendo Donkey Kong games. And then like I feel like Donkey Kong Country Returns and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, I feel like those soundtracks are a lot more vanilla. Like they just feel basic.
Yeah, like Donkey
forgettable.
Kong started to get that like da 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 da. Like it and I feel like they tried to make that its sound identity the way they do. Like Mario has his own sound identity. And I think it was to the detriment of the soundtrack overall, because I don't feel like Diddy's Conquest has like a sound font, just because the tracks are so unique from one another. But it all works somehow. Like it's all like epic, but somehow fitting for what's going on. It's good.
Yeah, this game, I first played this game like maybe 5 years ago. So I I shouldn't say the first time I played it, but the first time I sat down and went all the way through and beat it and collected 102% was like 5 years ago. Like I played it once or twice as a kid. I borrowed the Super Nintendo from my friend, like I said. But I didn't really fall in love with the Donkey Kong Country games until then. Before it was Donkey Kong Country Returns. I played that on the 3DS, and I had such a good time. I had to go back and play these Super Nintendo ones. And, man, Donkey Kong Country Returns is a sweet game.
I'm very well versed in the 3DS library. I think it's one of the best games on the system.
Yeah, I wanted to speedrun it. Like it's like the first game that I kind of got into and was like, I want to try to speedrun something. It was fun.
Yeah, no, it's a yeah. Donkey Kong somehow has its own vibe that's like different from Mario, but just doesn't. I don't know. I don't know why they don't like it. I know they had a feud with Rare for a little while, but I feel like that's in the past. We really got to bring Donkey Kong back, make him great again.
Yeah.
With your red hat.
Yeah, with my red hat here, red hat
So-
for Halloween.
I want to bring up a small story. When I was living with you, Don, in Manchester, and Donkey Kong Country Returns was released, you were so bullshit that it wasn't a 3D platform collectathon like DK64.
I love DK64.
I know you do, and I like it, not as much as you, but Donkey Kong Country Returns being one of the best games on the 3DS library, how do you feel about it being a platformer now, coming back and having played at least 2 of these side-scrollers?
Yeah, I see it. Like my intro to the Donkey Kong universe was Donkey Kong 64. So I'm now getting to experience the roots of where it came from, and I see it rubber banding back. And I think Nintendo is not going to do another 3D Donkey Kong game because I think critically, everybody's beaten that horse to death, about how they feel about it. I think it's overblown. Maybe I should pick it for my entry, but Steve will quit the podcast if I pick it, so I'm not going to pick it. But I'm hoping somebody else picks it.
I hope so too. I would like to play it.
But yeah, no, I'm willing to eat crow on that one. No, it's a great game.
I was excited for it at the time, and he was not, and we were roommates, and we ended up not getting it, so it's just me getting back at him just a little bit.
You know what I want to talk about a little bit is like the variance in enemies in this game. It kind of goes like hand in hand with platforming, but like the enemies, I feel like in a lot of games, the way that they artificially make them harder is to like make the same enemies doing the same things, but just give them like more health or something.
Or a
More
different
speed.
color.
Yeah, or like a different color, or make them
Yeah.
faster, or whatever.
Yeah.
But like this game, you see the same enemies from the start of the game pretty much to the end, just positioned differently. And like the enemies make you respond in a different way. Like they really liked at the end to throw the like porcupines and the I think they're called claptraps, the little like alligators that chomp.
Yeah.
So like you can roll into the porcupines from the front, but you can't jump on them because they're porcupines. But you can't roll into the crocodiles because they're chomping. So you have to jump on them. And they like to throw those things in combination like at you in like really weird spots, just for example. But like they really use every enemy. I feel like they use the whole buffalo, so to speak, of every enemy. I don't know if you guys felt the same.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so yeah, they had the claptraps, like you said, little crocodiles. They had the porcupines. They had rats. They had kremlings that were in barrels of different colors. They took different things from you.
Oh my god, the black one.
It takes a
I
life.
had this one run where he like I got stuck and he just kept hitting me. He took 9 lives off
Wow.
me. I was like shouting at it. I was so mad.
Yeah, so I remember that exact enemy, and he was like bumping into me, and I saw like the the balloon, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy's giving me free lives.
I know, it's what I thought too. I didn't know he was taking them from me.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, oh my god, I can get 99 lives here and like coast through this game. But then I looked at the counter, and I'm like, oh wait a minute, like he's actually taking them from me.
I know, I thought it was a glitch too.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, I picked up like 10 lives off that guy. Why don't I have them? Where are they?
Yeah.
Oh my
Jeez.
god.
And they had the bees, and they had kremlings that threw hooks that boomerang back, and they had
Worst enemy in the game right there, the friggin' boomerang throwing dudes.
He's up there.
Yeah, he's really bad. I don't
they
know.
had the clutch guys, I think they're called. They throw things like they look like squids or almost something in a trench coat.
Yeah.
They had a fairly
The Sonic
fair amount of
ripoff.
enemies.
You guys don't.
Sonic?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that like methed out
Yeah.
ugly Sonic from the
And he
oh my god, he's
spins
so
around and throws you.
I mean,
You know what
like,
my
can't
least
even kill
favorite
him
enemy is?
when he's spinning.
The crows that dive bomb you. They're annoying to me.
I did lose a lot of lives to them because they position them so they don't come at you. They position them so they look like they're going to come at you, but they go over you, and if you jump, you get hit. And
That's intelligent design.
that joke got me way too many times.
It is my least favorite enemy, so
Fucking
I
crows,
agree with
man.
You know what my least favorite enemy is that fish that's in the water, like the lockjaw that you can't like kill. Like it's the levels that you're not supposed to be in the water, and he just zooms right at you and just kills you. You
think
know?
about it like holes.
Yeah. I'm
The
just like,
starfish were placed pretty brutally too in some levels.
yeah.
Yeah, and there were pufferfish. There's so many enemies in this game, actually.
There's that moment in the Animal Mayhem level, I think it's called, which is like the last secret level, where you jump from animal to animal, where you're playing as Squawk, and like one of the really basic enemies of the game are the dragonflies, and they basically become platforms most of the time that you just jump and kill and jump off and do something else. Like that's their lot in life. They're like worse Goombas. Um,
Well, they fly. I mean,
so
they're
there's this
Paragoomba.
one spot in there where the wind blows you in, and it's like their revenge. There's like 12 of them, and the rate of your fire from the bird is not enough to clear the path for you. And like I feel like the only way to get past that is to take the hit and go through. Like you need to make sure you don't get hit before it, and just take the hit and ride through to the barrel. Like it's just so funny how they use all these enemies.
So overall, good experiences. It sounds like, which I'm glad for.
Absolutely. This game will go high. I have no doubt.
It's a perfect segue. You guys ready to take a break? And then we'll get into our review.
Sure thing.
Sounds good.
Right. Play some of that sweet music from that soundtrack. And if you've made it this far in the episode, it's time for me to plug. Make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, you leave a like, leave us a comment. We want to hear from you. And if you want to write into the show, pay attention to our Facebook page or join the Discord. You can see what games we are going to play next. And you can write in your commentary about the game. We'd love to include it as part of the show. We love interaction. If you are on a listening platform, leave us a kind rating and review. Doesn't have to be a good review, but you know, a courteous one would be nice. But they definitely get us jazzed. And if you are on one of those listening platforms, check us out on YouTube sometime, because Dan puts a lot of effort into the visual aspects of these episodes. And I think I do listen to a lot of podcasts, and I do check them out on YouTube, and I'm not knocking anybody. I understand it's an audio show, but man, Dan really puts in a really good job with these visuals. It's not just your typical screen with a still image and talking. Very, very good. So go check us out there. Now we're going to get into the rating.
Oh boy.
All right, so since this is Steve's game, I think that we should make his review last of it. So Dan, what'd you think of, give us some pros. What are some of the things you liked about Diddy Kong's Quest? Diddy's Kong Quest. Can I stop there for a second? I thought it was Diddy Kong's Quest like my whole life.
Yeah.
And was informed this past week that it is Diddy's Kong Quest.
Yeah. No, I
which,
thought...
given recent news, is not a title that's aged very well. But regardless.
Yeah, I know. I was pleasantly surprised. Like I've played the first one and it was good, but then I haven't played a Donkey Kong game in forever up until now, and I just want to say, like, the graphics, like visually, like this could almost pass as like a N64 game. Like the graphics, like they're that good. I remember like the previous episode we were like really talking up like Super Metroid's graphics, but I don't know, man. This might be even better. Platforming's great. Like I've mentioned before, every level feels like you're almost playing a different game because there's just so many different things that they do. Whether it's like you're riding a different animal, you're going underwater, or the wind pushing you either to the side or even like vertically. It's just crazy. The bosses are great. They're all like fairly unique in their own ways.
And the bosses are a really big step up from the first game, I feel.
Yeah.
Like that's one area that this game really shines.
Yeah, and what I liked with the bosses too, like a lot of them did different things when you damaged them. So like every time like you would hit them, sometimes they would do something like more differently. And then like,
oh yeah, they have like multiple phases.
Right.
Yeah.
And like especially like K Rule, for example, where it's like with his blunderbuss, like his like shots were like different every single time that you hit him, which I thought was pretty cool. It just kept you on your toes.
In my case, trial and error.
Yeah, well, to be honest, me too. Like die, come back. But yeah, there isn't much like honestly like bad that I can say. I mean, like I'm just doing the pros, but like yeah, this is a great game, and I'm glad that we got to play it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really stood out to me was just like the care put into like absolutely everything. Like you were saying, the graphics, you know, I thought would be just kind of like cheap where experimenting 3D, but I think if it hadn't looked good, they probably wouldn't have done it, just given like how much care that they put into it. But it really creates an identity for this game.
Right.
You know, and I thought it was going to be dark because it is kind of a dark color palette, you know, and it's a color palette I don't generally prefer, those like crappy forest greens and browns and, you know, but it somehow worked. Like it was very clear to see things and where things are. Like it didn't hold the game back, which I thought was great. And just like I said, I love that juicy platforming. It feels so rewarding to land that stuff, and the controls are super tight. Like all these bells and whistles that they stuck onto this game, like the music, the graphics, like all the innovation in it. You know, they didn't sacrifice gameplay for it, which is stellar. You know, I think games that are released now struggle to live up to this title.
Yeah. No, I want to go back on the controls. Like I want to say like the controls in this game is probably one of the best I've seen like in a platformer. And like for some reason like I don't know, sometimes graphics can like mess with like, you know, controls, but not this game. Like the controls are buttery smooth for, you know, how the game looks, which is good.
All right, Steve, I know you're lobbying, but go ahead and gush.
Well, I mean, you know, you guys had just talked up so much praise, and you know, I'm trying to think of things like one of the only cons, one of the only Kongs
Kongs.
That we talked about earlier was the banana coins and the saving thing, which is kind of weird. There really isn't like a big storyline to it, you know, like it's not like an RPG or anything like that. But it doesn't need to be. Like it tells the story perfectly fine the way that it is through the level design. Something that nobody mentioned also was the backgrounds. The backgrounds in the level, like they're so good looking. Like like it blows Metroid or Super Metroid out of the water, the backgrounds. Like gorgeous.
I
Yeah.
feel like they really tried to push every element that the Super Nintendo had, and I think they really succeeded here.
Yeah, they did. It almost feels like it shouldn't even be on the Super Nintendo, honestly. I don't even know how they did it.
Yeah, no, it's really, really stretched, I think, to its absolute max with this game.
Yeah, Donkey Kong Country was stretched. Like I watched a small documentary on it on YouTube a few years ago about the graphics and the audio, and like Nintendo didn't think it could be done, and Rare said, "Hold my beer," like
Hold my banana.
hold my bananas.
You saw us with Killer Instinct. We can do this.
So this is the kind of game that, regardless of how many times you beat or how many platformers you've played, this is the kind of game that stays in your memory. Like, this is something I'm going to take with me until a ripe old age and I start losing my memories. This is the kind of experience from the Super Nintendo that made the system super. I can't get enough. Like, I wish there were more, and I really should give Donkey Kong Country 3 like a better shot. But this game like culminates in all of platforming games up to it, and it just holds such a place in that sphere that is so hard to beat, even with games nowadays, like Don had said. Like, if this isn't a contender for Master Ball, I didn't know what was in the platformer category. The game is phenomenal.
Oh, so your strategy is you're going straight for the Master Ball, huh? You didn't think maybe like, maybe I'll kick around in Bush League and try to win a prize there?
Man,
Excuse the expression.
How do you go over this game? It's amazing.
I don't know.
I'm glad you guys got to play it.
24 games to go, and my man's feeling good.
Hey,
so
Super Mario World made it to our Master Ball.
That's true. That is very true. Arguably
than that
better.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to see how it shakes up. I think, yeah, so I do flog it for the saving thing, but honestly, Super Mario World saving sucks too. Like you can
Yeah,
only
only when
save
you
at
beat a
certain
castle or a
parts,
ghost house.
And the saving became problematic when I game overed, and then it was
Yeah.
like, oh crap, But I also didn't mind playing more of the levels to get the coins I needed to go back and save.
Well, I don't
Like
know if you
they're
guys
just good
knew,
levels.
That-
but if you finished a level, you could hit start and select to exit the level and keep what you've collected.
I just died and kept what I collected. But
No,
yeah.
so like if you beat a level and you miss the DK coin and you go in and you find the DK coin, you can collect it and immediately start select and exit.
So awesome.
yeah.
That-
Quality of life
that-
right there.
Yeah, that a game that's that old has that level of quality of life.
Super Mario World has it too.
This is like Chrono Trigger level stuff, right? Of like that quality of life stuff that you would expect to see from a modern game that you just didn't have most of the time, even on good games back in the day. Like it's really good. Let me ask you this. Here's a segment of the show. Did you guys beat it this week?
I did. I didn't do the secret levels, unfortunately. I ran out of time, but I thoroughly enjoyed the base game at least. K. Rool actually gave me a run for my money, let me tell you. Which
He ain't low tier like in Smash in this game.
yeah, which I think was kind of funny. So when you first find him, or not find him, but when you actually fight him for real, he's like literally laying into Donkey Kong. I thought that was the funniest thing. He's hitting him with the gun. He's shooting blunderbuss bullet cannonballs at him. I'm like, damn, dude.
Way more of a beating than Bowser's ever laid on Mario.
I was like, holy crap, dude. Has he been doing this the whole time to him?
I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him. Don't take one more step. Yeah. Steve, did you beat it?
Yes. I finished the main game. I didn't do the side quest. I was collecting everything until about World 4, and then I felt like I was going to run out of time, so I hastened my pace and finished the game in time.
I 102%ed this bad boy.
Where was your last coin?
Fancy.
It was in Snapper's Cavern, which is one of the last levels. I finally worked up the gall to go looking for it. So
well, a
I knew
level
there
will
were
tell
40
you.
coins, but I got to the end and I could not find this last coin, and I was like, I don't have any coins. I got to buy Funky's freaking flights to fly around everywhere to go find this thing. And you fly into a world, you can't fly back out. You got to get 2 more coins to pay Funky again. I was like, this is
It's
I
getting tedious.
don't know if I'm gonna find it, but why? Why can't you just walk back out of the world and walk somewhere else? Why does Funky's flights have to exist? But it's not a baby platformer. They wanted to make your life hard, and they did.
Another thing is that the fact that they labeled the stages once you've collected all the secrets and all of the DK coin, it tells you, so you know when the level's done.
Which was a carryover from the first game. They used the exclamation points in that game too. It's
good. It's really good design.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Dan, do you have any cons about this game?
Well, the saving was definitely gonna be one of mine, but honestly, now that I think about it, games were just like that back then. They were just harder. Saving wasn't as convenient as it is in today's games, where with all the auto saving and all that stuff. So, I mean,
if you turn the game off and back on, you lose your coins.
Yeah, that's some BS right there.
Wow, I did not know that. Holy crap.
Yeah, I was playing on the Switch, so I ended up just save stating instead of saving and coming back to my state. But yeah, if you turn the game off and back on, you lose your regular banana coins. But they're so plentiful; it doesn't really matter.
They are. But
except if you just want to beat one level and save, then you can't do that sometimes because you didn't collect 2 coins during that level.
Yeah, I played on my Switch as well. So anytime
you should collect more than 2.
Anytime that I was done playing, I just put it in rest mode, and so I never reset the game. But yeah, that is
so for any of you who haven't played it yet, it's on the Switch Online, and it's a better experience because you don't have to use the banana coins to save.
Yeah, that's true.
So nice. See, they know. I played the original SNES version this this week, and I think one of the things that keeps it from a perfect score from me is that some of the stuff is in fact cryptic, and I felt like I did have to look it up. I maybe used the guide like 6 or 7 times, I think,
What for
throughout the
for
whole
the
experience.
collectibles?
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
which I think is acceptable. It's not
Yeah.
it's not a big mark against it, but some of it is like, dude, I never would have found that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
no
I
matter
mean,
how
I
hard it
wouldn't say
looks.
that this game is perfect. There are rarely games that are, but they wanted a bigger emphasis on exploration in this versus the first game, and it shows because they, try and do like the one banana to lead you into the right place, or they do arrows with the bananas to show you to go in this direction, and
Yeah. I saw
press the
quite a
the
few of
A
those.
button.
I saw quite a few of those banana arrows, and I had no idea what they were trying to show me. I was like, free bananas.
After I looked up, like the first time I saw one and I looked up the secret, that was enough for me to get the logic. So I feel like if I had just given it enough time, I'm older now. I'm an adult. I got a kid. I got a job. I can't be sitting there trying to figure out exactly what they're trying to tell me.
Yes, but
But
all
once
of
you
the
figure it out,
secrets in
it's
this
good.
game were put in by the same person,
Yeah. Oh, you feel that for sure.
which is really, really, really good design, because then you start learning to look around the level like that person.
Yeah, I do like that actually.
So,
Yeah, you start to build this internal logic of what they're telling you. All right. So you guys want to get into? You guys want to rate this thing? Put it into the enter it into the league.
Let's do it.
All right. So we have up here the league for this year. If you caught our last episode, the anniversary episode, you'd kind of know how this works. Basically, what we're going to do is at the end of each episode, we're going to enter the game into the league, and it's different from a tier list in the sense that when we start, there are no tiers. There's just the league, right? So we're starting with Apricorn tier, and each tier or cup, as we are calling them, are going to have an equal amount of games at the end of this year. So these first 5 game entries are just simply going to get dropped all into the same group. And when we reach our 6th episode of the year and our 6th game entered into the league, that 6th game will either enter the pool with the rest of these and push another game up, or we will decide that it's just head and shoulders above the previous 5 games and it'll enter the new cup all on its own. Rinse and repeat that all the way up 5 times, because we'll have 25 games, 5 cups, 5 games each. And an easy way to remember it is we're naming them after the cups in Pokemon Stadium. So Pokeball Cup, Great Ball Cup, Ultra Ball Cup, and Master Ball Cup, and then the bottom one is the Apricorn Cup. So we're starting with Apricorn on the bottom. So Diddy's Conquest is going into the Apricorn tier.
All
And
right.
will it stay there? Who knows? We have 24 more games to go this year.
if it stayed there, it's going to be a great year.
It's going to be a great year, yeah.
I'll make it stay there.
Oh, really?
I'm kidding.
So regrettably, we're going to set Diddy's Conquest aside, and we're going to move on to the next entrant in our league, which is going to be put forth by Dan.
Moi.
Dan, what game do you have for us?
Okay, so since we're a Pokemon-centered podcast and we went a whole damn year without playing a single Pokemon game, I figured now is the time. And the game I'm pitching for us to all play is Pokemon Gold and Silver / Crystal.
We're taking the entire body of work as one entry. I like it.
Yep. So I don't care, whoever's listening / watching, you can play whatever version. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm gonna play Silver because I've had Gold as a kid. So I'm just gonna jump right into Silver.
One of the beautiful things about this league is that the thoughts around the games are pretty evergreen throughout the year. So if you have some thoughts about why you think Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal would be better to win the league than Diddy's Conquest, go ahead and write those in. They're going to be taken into consideration as we do our judging throughout the year. So any final thoughts, guys, before we sign off?
I'm excited to play Gold. It's been a while since I've played that, so I don't know how excited you guys are, but man,
Yeah,
I
no,
think Dan picked a good one.
yeah. I know you guys love Pokemon, so I figured that this would go in my favor as, climbing the cups.
Oh, he's got some meta going on
Yeah.
there.
And since it's, Pokemon too, it goes with the theme of the podcast, so I figure, I can't lose here.
Oh, okay. All right. I think you've played your hand, sir.
Calling his bluff.
This is a game that I've played more than any other game I think ever. Like there was a point in my life where I was just obsessed with Pokemon Gold and Silver, and I played it a ton. I've probably played this game like 100 times at least, like
Wow,
from start to
impressive.
credits. Like I've beaten the ever loving stuffing out of this game, so I'll be curious to see what you guys say about it. So
I have
impressive
some
or sad?
ideas already.
Because I think it's a little bit sad, but
Nah, I mean, the dedication, at
I
least.
should have been playing games like Super Metroid instead. That's what I should have been doing.
Yeah.
Mr. Never played the Super Nintendo. Sega fan over there.
Sega fan.
I like
All right.
Sega too.
This
They're
Game
both
Boy
good.
fan. All right, fellas. Until next time, join us when we talk about Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. Game over?
Game over.
Game over.